Chosen one, child of God, beloved. Have you ever laid awake asking God why the right person hasn't stayed? Why connections keep ending? Why your heart feels ready but the door never fully opens? And what if I told you this ache is not a sign that something is wrong with you but proof that God is deeply involved in your story? Because the first powerful way God introduces you to your soulmate is through separation and sacred solitude, a season that feels lonely but is actually holy, where God is, removing noise, distractions, and unhealthy attachments so he can reintroduce you to yourself. Because before God connects two destinies, he establishes identity. And what God is doing right now is pulling you away so you can hear him clearly, strengthening your discernment, healing your self-worth, and teaching you who you are without validation. The spiritual meaning of this struggle is preparation, not punishment, just as Adam was alone before Eve was formed and just as Ruth stood empty. Before she was aligned with Boaz, what felt like rejection was actually redirection. What felt like being overlooked was God protecting you from being prematurely tied to someone who could not steward your heart. And in this season, God is teaching you that you are chosen, complete, and called even before partnership, because your soulmate will not complete you but will complement the person God has already made whole. So if you feel isolated, misunderstood, or separated right now, do not rush the process, because God often isolates what he intends to elevate. And this quiet place is where heaven prepares introductions that will not break you but bless you. Beloved, the second powerful way God introduces you to your soulmate is through deep inner healing that you did not even realize you needed. Because what God is doing in this season is touching wounds beneath the surface, reopening memories, patterns, and emotions you thought you had already overcome. And this can feel confusing, exhausting, even discouraging, but hear this clearly. This is not you falling apart. This is God restoring you from the inside out. The spiritual meaning of this struggle is refinement, because God refuses to connect you to covenant love while hidden pain is still directing your choices. He is healing rejection so you don't chase approval, healing abandonment so you don't tolerate inconsistency, healing fear so you don't confuse intensity with intimacy. And just like Joseph had to be betrayed before he could discern destiny relationships from temporary ones, just like Hannah had to pour out her pain before she could carry promise, God is cleansing your emotional lens so you choose with wisdom and not wounds. What felt like emotional pain was actually spiritual surgery. What felt like delay was divine protection. Because your soulmate is not meant to inherit your trauma but to walk with you in freedom. And God knows that unhealed places attract familiar spirits instead of aligned partners. So if this season has forced you to confront yourself, to cry more, pray deeper, and let go of old versions of you, rejoice quietly, because healing is evidence that God is preparing you for a love that is safe, stable, and sent by him, not rushed by loneliness. Child of God, the third powerful way God introduces you to your soulmate is by aligning you with purpose before he aligns you with a person. Because what God is doing in this season is shifting your focus from longing to calling, from chasing love to walking in destiny. And you may have noticed that what once consumed your thoughts no longer satisfies you, that your spirit is being pulled toward growth, discipline, prayer, vision, and obedience. And this is not accidental, this is God repositioning you. The spiritual meaning of the struggle is maturity, because God knows that if you meet your soulmate before you understand your assignment, you may idolize the relationship and abandon the mission, and Scripture shows us this pattern clearly. Isaac was working in the field when Rebekah arrived. Moses was tending sheep when Zipporah entered his life, meaning divine relationships meet you in motion, not stagnation. What felt like being overlooked was actually being positioned. What felt like delay was actually divine strategy, because God is ensuring that when your soulmate arrives, they recognize your calling and don't compete with it, support your purpose and don't distract from it, and walk beside you instead of pulling you off course. So if you feel a holy dissatisfaction, a burning to become more, a separation from shallow desires, understand that God is building a foundation strong enough to carry both love and legacy, because destiny relationships are not found in desperation, they are revealed in alignment. Chosen one, the fourth and final powerful way God introduces you to your soulmate is through divine timing that often feels slow but is always precise. Because what God is doing in this season is orchestrating details you cannot see, hearts maturing, paths crossing, lessons completing, and doors aligning. And this waiting can feel like silence, but heaven is never idle. The spiritual meaning of the delay is trust, because rushed love breaks while aligned love lasts. And throughout Scripture we see that when the timing was right, everything shifted suddenly. Ruth met Boaz in one day after a long season of loss. Esther stepped into destiny in a single moment after years of preparation. Mary received her promise in an unexpected encounter. And in the same way, what felt like waiting was actually God working quietly, What felt like nothing happening was heaven setting the stage, because God will not introduce your soulmate until both of you are ready to recognize peace. Not just passion. Covenant, not just connection, so take heart and release the pressure. You are not late, forgotten, or missing your moment. You are right on time, and hear this final encouragement with faith rising in your spirit. God is intentional with your heart because your calling is significant, and before He brings the right person, He completes the right season, so declare this out loud with confidence. I trust God's timing, I am prepared, aligned, and whole, and what God has promised me will arrive at the appointed time. Rest now, beloved, because when God introduces your soulmate, it will not be confusing. It will be confirming, peaceful, and undeniable, and His timing always will be perfect.